Good evening. Welcome to the March 7th meeting of the Falmouth Conservation Commission. At this time, I'd ask you to silence all your electronic devices. If you're going to have a private conversation, please take it outside. If you want to speak on any of the matters in front of us, please do so. You'll have to go to the podium, give your name for the record, and speak into the microphone as we are being televised by FC TV. First up, minutes, February 21st. Ms. Dr. Gladfelder.
I've read them. I think there's one order of conditions where you didn't, weren't on the quorum, and so it says that Mr. Matthews second, but it was probably Mr. Patton.
Probably was.
And other than that, I thought it was, Susan did her usual excellent job. So I'll move that we accept them.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. February 28th minutes. That was the joint meeting.
Yes. I do believe the Board of Health has some, Ed, did she send you those edits?
She sent me the water quality.
Okay, water quality.
I made all
Are
the,
these the corrected ones then?
I made all the changes and sent it to her.
That I don't know, so I'll why don't we just put those off until the next meeting and I'll double check with Courtney.
I haven't had time to finish.
Okay.
Okay.
And I wanted to say, I think we heard the other day that the Board of Health had some changes, but it could have been water quality, so.
Do we need a motion for that, or just table it?
Yeah, I don't think we need a motion.
Okay. So we're gonna put that off till next week, other week after, the next meeting. Okay, RDAs. This is the one where you wanna hear negative. Susan and Stephen
That
Moore.
means you can go ahead with what you want. Do you have an RDA? An RDA? Are you here for an RDA? No, you're not. Don't worry about this.
May I continue?
Sorry.
Susan and Stephen Moore, 125 Little Neck Bars Road, West Falmouth, Mass. For permission to remove invasive shrubs and non-native Boston ivy, remove pine tree and replace with native tupelos, install native shrubs along the driveway and along the roadway. Jen?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, we're recommending a -2 under the state and the bylaw with the resource area boundaries not confirmed.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Unanimous. Sorry, I can't write fast enough. Next up, Robert Matthews, no relation, 93 Lucerne Ave, East Falmouth, Mass. For permission to remove existing asphalt driveway and invasive Boston ivy adjacent to the patio and replace with grass and to install walkway from the house to the patio area. Jen?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, we're recommending a -2 under the state and the bylaw with the resource area boundaries not confirmed.
So move.
Second.
Oh, okay. Anybody in public have any comment on this?
I just have a question. Difference between Boston ivy and English ivy? Anybody know?
We have a run on that now.
It's a different species.
Yeah, but I mean, they're
We
both
have a bunch of-
invasives.
Yeah, they're both invasive.
Okay.
They're both, you don't want either of them growing up your trees.
Hate when that happens. All those in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Next up, Jewett Realty Trust, number 3, across from 33 Penzance Road, map 4902-003-002, Woods Hole, Mass. For permission to replace a float piling for the existing licensed pier, ramp, and float. Ken?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, we're recommending a -2 under the state and the bylaw with the resource area boundaries not confirmed.
So move.
Second.
Anybody have any comments on that one? All those in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Next up, Bridge Street Realty Trust, 34 Bridge Street, East Falmouth, Mass. For permission to remove portions of the existing roof, reconstruct with dormers, and add a roofed entry.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, we are recommending a -2 under the state and the bylaw with the resource area boundaries not confirmed.
So move.
Second.
Any comments from the public? All those in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Next up, Karen Callis, 65 Edgewater Drive West, East Falmouth, Mass, for permission to remove and replace the existing leaching field. Jen?
-2 under the state and the bylaw with the resource area boundaries not confirmed.
So move.
Second.
Any comments from the public? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Unanimous. Next, Charles and Sherry Way, 12 Clarabelle Road, East Falmouth, Mass, for permission to remove the existing concrete slab and brick wall in the foyer entrance, excavate and pour slab foundation for habitable space, and to install Bigfoot sonotubes for porch entrance. Jen?
We're recommending a -2 under the bylaw and -3 under the state with the resource area boundaries not confirmed.
So move.
Second.
Any comments from the public? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Unanimous, so moved. Alice Schroeder, 41 North Bournes Pond Road, East Falmouth, Mass, for permission to relicense an existing pier, ramp, and T-float in a slightly different footprint. Jen?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, we are recommending a -2 under the state and the bylaw with the resource area boundaries not confirmed.
So move.
Second.
Any comments from the public? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, unanimous. Judith Harbison, 62 West Falmouth Highway, Falmouth, Mass, for permission to construct a 20 by 25-foot house addition and install a new Title V sewage disposal system. Jen?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, we are recommending a -2 under the state. No, -3 under the state, -2 under the bylaw, with the resource area boundaries not confirmed.
So moved.
Kind
Second.
of threw me. He's headed backwards.
Any comments from the public?
Yay.
That means yay.
That's a yes.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous, so moved. Ralph and Sharon Parks, 51 Pondview Drive, East Falmouth, Mass, for permission to construct a single-family house, deck with stairs, install a Title V sewage disposal system, driveway, segmental retaining wall, fencing, utilities, and the associated clearing, excavating, grading, and landscaping.
Yes, we are recommending, follow me, a -4 under the state and the bylaw for the house construction, and a -2 under the bylaw, and a -3 under the state for the fence.
So move.
Obviously, with your resource area boundaries not confirmed.
Who seconded it?
Any comments from the public? All those in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous.
That's okay. None of you had a question about what a -4 was?
No, I wasn't going there.
It's raining out. So what is a
Okay.
-4? Tell us.
Take your word for it.
Okay.
Are you making it up?
No, I'm not making it up.
What is it?
It means the project is outside of your jurisdiction.
Oh, okay. So why are they applying?
They were working with us first, and
Okay.
we shifted the house. And
We're good?
I figured somebody was gonna go.
Town of Falmouth, Marine
I will
Environmental
next time.
Services, care of Chuck Martinson, Wacoit Bay. Site 1 located southwest, sites 2 and 3 located southeast, and Site A located south of the Wacoit Bay, NERRRR.
National Estuarine
Area
Research Reserve.
I knew that, headquarters, Wacoit, Mass. For permission to grow shellfish for the 2018 and 19 growing seasons. That includes using floating gear, submerged rack and bag systems, and bottom trays. Approximately 180 floating bags would be located in Site 1 30 oyster grow systems, and 15 tri-level bottom trays will be located in sites 2 and 3, and 12 floating bags, 2 oyster grow systems, and 2 tri-level bottom trays will be located in site A. Approximately 216,000 oysters of 8 millimeter size and 64,800 oysters at 40 to 50 millimeter size will be grown.
I hate to do this to you, Mr. Chairman, but they're withdrawing their request. They'll be filing, I'm sorry, I should have stopped you earlier. They'll be filing a notice for this project. So they're withdrawing the RDA. I know, I'm sorry, you started reading, I felt that.
Unless there were questions, I would have had questions.
I think questions.
Well, you just answered my question. How come we're gonna allow this under an
You just
RDA?
wanted to see if I could read that without stuttering.
You did an excellent job.
Good reading.
Moving on. Continued request for determination of applicability. Nathan Holcomb, 270 Sippowiset Road, Falmouth, Mass. For permission to landscape beyond the 50-foot buffer to freshwater wetland that includes removing some vegetation, replacing and expanding existing lawn along the street side of the house, and to grade and top dress the stone driveway.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, this is another withdrawal request, so they're just withdrawing the RDA. And all withdrawals are without prejudice, so.
Moving right along.
Huh?
Moving right along.
Yeah, you know, that's just, all right.
You like it?
Whatever, you know. All right. Request for hearings under notice of intent. Let's cover the legalese. All hearings of the Falmouth Conservation Commission are held simultaneously under the authorities of the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act and the Falmouth Wetlands Bylaw. Although a single decision of the commission is issued, it represents a separate decision under each authority. First up, Christine Donovan, 68 Waterside Drive, North Falmouth, Mass. For permission to remove and restore coastal dune vegetation, repair the existing deck and patio area, and the associated clearing, excavating, grading, and landscaping.
Good evening. My name is Jen Crawford. I'm here representing the property owner tonight. We are the landscape architects and natural resource managers for this project. Tom Bunker is here, as well as BSS did the site survey work and resource delineation for us. I'll try to keep my presentation short. The project is fairly straightforward. This property owner recognized that their outdoor spaces on the property were pretty limited, so they asked us to take a look at them and to see if there were ways that we could reorganize and refine the spaces to maximize the usable areas, as well as evaluate the naturalized dune area between them and the water. So starting in the front yard, it consists very simply of a front walkway, a lawn area, and landscape plantings that are existing. We're proposing to simply replace the front walkway, reduce the lawn, and introduce new landscape plantings that are geared toward providing better pollinator habitat. We also are proposing to remove 3 non-native pines in the front yard. On your plans, they're actually labeled white pine. That's mislabeled. It's either Austrian or Japanese black pine, I believe. In their place, we would like to plant 7 native gray birch to form an entry grove in that front yard garden space. In the backyard, we are proposing to rebuild the deck and patio area in generally the same footprint. There is currently a timber wall that's holding up the back patio area, and the side of the timber wall that's facing the water is at the end of its lifespan. It's starting to rot and is going to be failing very soon. It needs to be replaced, so we will be replacing that with a new retaining wall when we are doing the work. The landscape changes in general will result in a decrease of hardscape coverage in both the A zone and B zone, a decrease of coverage in the A zone of approximately 90 square feet, and a decrease in the B zone of approximately 179 square feet. In the naturalized area, which is basically the dune, the whole thing is delineated as dune for the most part. There's a straight elevated catwalk. We would like to actually remove the catwalk and use a very simple footpath to access the beach. We've shown that route on the plan. The naturalized area, generally speaking, contains about 25%, of the area, which is actually closest to the beach, is native species for the most part. There's some small incursions of invasives intermixed, but that 25% of the dune is native and healthy and just fine. The other part of the naturalized area consists predominantly of invasive species, so we a voluntary restoration plan for the dune, along with a written land management plan describing the work in greater detail, and a restoration planting plan, which is shown on the plan. With that, I think that sums up our proposal, so I'm happy to hopefully answer any questions you have.
Jen?
Yes, Jen, just go over again what you're proposing to do in the restoration planting area, the one with the little R, labeled R and the little
Yep.
check marks or crosses.
So on our planting plan, the naturalized areas that are predominantly native, we didn't survey them, but we kind of guesstimated their locations so you could see it. Not much will change out here. The only thing that will happen is the natural resource managers will go through this area and individually remove stem by stem any of the bittersweet or other non-native invasive species that are growing here. So this area will remain pretty much the way it is now. Behind it, in the greater area, all of the invasive species will be removed. They'll be treated according to what we've outlined in the land management plan. We did include an area here where we would like to do a little bit of dune nourishment that is intended to help the dune, but also to, once it's all planted, to provide a little bit of privacy, as the association beach path is directly adjacent to this property. So we're hoping that that nourishment and planting of it will help in that way for the property owner. The entire area will be seeded with a native grass mix. I don't remember if we included that spec or not. If we didn't, I'm happy to provide it to you or Jen for approval. So the entire area would be seeded and stabilized so that we get some vegetative ground cover. Typically, after the first growing season, we will come in and install the restoration plantings. In this case, they might even go in earlier this spring, just because the property owner, I think, would probably like to see that done sooner rather than later. Did that help?
It helps. I just have a real quick question, and I was remembering when I was out there, and I was out there last week. The area in the restoration, can you give me a percentage of what is native invasive and non-native invasive? Because I know you're proposing to remove the black cherry and the sumac, but those are native
The
plants.
sumac, actually, we're not going to, we won't be removing the sumac. The sumac there's winged sumac that's growing pretty much throughout this entire area, so our intent wouldn't be to remove that.
Oh, okay, because it was listed that 80% invasive was sporadic winged sumac and black cherry shrubs.
Oh, I'm sorry, that, the label isn't very clear then, because it was just intended that basically this area is mostly invasive with some winged sumac. The winged sumac would stay.
The cherry?
There's a couple.
I saw the big cherries, yeah.
Yeah, there's a couple, I think there's 2 or 3 cherry shrubs that have been repeatedly
Cut.
in this area, and otherwise I didn't see any other cherry out there, so
Okay.
that would be in this general location.
Okay, so it's not going to be a wholesale removal. You'll go in there and selectively remove the non-native invasive.
Correct, yes,
Okay.
that's
All right.
correct, yep,
Okay.
yep.
Okay, the only thing, yeah, okay, so now in that area, I guess, I may want to condition that once the non-natives are removed, that we can meet out there and see how much winged sumac is left.
Sure.
Because if there's no need to add additional shrubs in that area, that's one thing, but if it's bare, then we may
Yep.
want to see
To see a few more.
additional native shrubs in that.
We'd be
That's
happy
it,
to
Mr.
work with
Chairman.
you on that.
Yeah, excellent, thank you, Jen.
Yep.
All set, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Burr?
No questions.
All set.
I have a couple of questions.
Yep.
I'm going to start with a comment. I think it's great that you're taking the raised walkway down.
Yeah, it makes
and
it
changing
shoot.
it. I mean, this is all in the block, the whole house is in the velocity zone. So, you know, assuming you didn't have a really bad storm, but you had a bad enough storm to take that walkway, and, you know, you have it
Meandering.
meandering. The other thing I found a little bit confusing, and this is not you. I know, I'm sorry, Tom. I didn't want you to think I was going to ignore you tonight. Is that, you gave us like an existing conditions plan, but this isn't what it's going to look like at the end. I mean, this raised walkway isn't going to be there, and,
He provided existing conditions.
As far as existing.
And Janet did the other one.
all right. I'll let you off the hook. That's why you don't show which trees are being removed. Okay. And my only concern with your plan, I think it's good, I think it's gonna be a great restoration, what's sort of the timing of it? I'm just afraid you're gonna have bare area exposed, and you're gonna have a, not this bad a storm, but a storm with a lot of wind.
Right, so our intent would be, I think I did include some timeline there, but we would like to begin the restoration work this spring so that we can get the invasives out and get everything seeded while we still have some nice cool weather. The one good thing about this property in particular is that the area directly fronting the beach, these are pretty thick, nice stands of bayberry, and we do have beach grass, and we have, surprisingly, I had never seen sweet fern growing this close to the water in this location. I was really pleasantly surprised to see that. So I think one of the nice things about this property is that
There's some protection.
this buffer is still going to be there because it's all native and it's all perfectly intact. I am hoping, I'm actually grateful that we weren't able to start this project sooner with the storms that we've been having. It's great. So hopefully we'll hit it at the right time in the spring when we're moving into non-nor'easter weather. But this area will end up putting sterile chopped straw over everything. If something, I think it's one of those things where if we get a storm bad enough where we're going to get water up in that area, it's going to be the same result whether we have
Well, I guess my question was
restored stuff
more,
there or not.
as you work, I
Yeah.
mean, it's like, this isn't a one-day project.
No.
Are you gonna work piece by piece and stabilize, like if we have a trench?
Yeah.
You know, when people do a trench, they do so much each day, and then they fill it in, and then they do the next.
Yeah, so
As all
usually,
of us in West Falmouth know.
yeah, with this project, our only access is going to be around the side of the garage here. So the landscape contractor and the natural resource manager are going to have to coordinate on that piece of it because the existing patio and the rotting retaining wall needs to be taken down so that the natural resource managers have access around. So they're going to need to coordinate that effort. It will probably take about, I would say probably about a week for our natural resource managers to go through this area and get all the invasives out and get the entire initial piece of it done. Typically what they would do, the catwalk will have to be removed first, and then they'll probably start out at the area closest to the beach and work their way back.
Yep, paint themselves into it, out of a corner.
Yes, out of a corner, not into a corner, correct.
Okay, that's it, thank you.
One quick
Yep.
question, Mr. Chairman. Jen, is it going to be, forgive me if I get, Gen X City or Crawford Ecological, is it going to be your crew out
Yes.
there? Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Steve,
I have no questions.
Peter?
Yes, when you are having the cherry removed, how disruptive will it be with the soil?
We leave all the roots in place. We rarely have a condition with any ecological restoration project where we are removing roots, especially of larger in this case, larger shrubs. We find that the more soil disturbance we have, the more weeds we have, and the more maintenance we have, especially in the first year. So we try very hard to leave the soils as intact as possible, and there's really no reason to pull any of the stumps or roots out in this case, I don't believe.
So are you going to use herbicide, or are you going to just cut it down and maybe have it grow up again?
In this instance, all the vegetation that we are removing, we would be cutting and basically a clip and drip or a paint the stem method for removing this type of vegetation.
Okay, thank you.
Mark?
You talk about 40 yards. What's that going to look like in terms of a mound?
It actually, once it's planted and restored, it'll be, I think it will feel very dune-like. It's not like going to be this high or anything. We're talking about just a little bit of elevation. So for instance, you'll see with the existing contours, existing contour 8 goes through that area. The highest area that we would have, I have is 10, so we would be talking at the very highest center, maybe about 24 inches, and then it would just grade out and down. So I think once the area is restored, it would look very, very natural and very dune-like.
Will you take 40 yards, or will you take it to sort of match the plan and stop when you match the plan?
40
yards is
yards
actually
should
quite a
match the
bit.
plan.
Maybe a little more than you need.
Yeah, correct. Yep. But we wanted to be able to give you at least an estimate or a
Okay.
pretty solid number for what we would anticipate.
But the idea is to match this 10-foot contour more or less.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. If it wasn't, I would have drawn something else.
Thank you. That's all.
Good. I like the plan, it looks a nice improvement. So you're gonna be cutting everything by hand
Correct.
for the most part? How are you pulling the catwalk up?
That's a good question. I haven't actually gotten down on my hands and knees among the briars to understand how it was constructed. Typically in sensitive areas like this, and we don't have access here for large equipment anyway, but we would intend on being able to bring a small track piece of equipment, like a 5.5 foot wide with the tracks mini excavator, so that we could assist in removing any of those pieces that we might need to remove. For the most part, it'll be disassembled by hand and taken out. We don't have room to really do it any other way. So everything will have to be pieced apart and taken around the front.
Anybody else?
I've got another question. Roughly, I don't know much about plants. How much of that area where you're planning to more or less clear out the plants, or how much of that percentage-wise is actually going to go? It's going to be cut and killed?
For the most part, in here, it's predominantly all invasive, state-listed invasive species. There are, as what Jen was asking about earlier,
Right.
there is winged sumac that does grow through this area, so that's why we will be going through it all, and it'll be cut and basically drug out by hand. They'll probably, since this will be our access, there'll probably be an area up here that is, that will end up being bare, because we're going to need to have someplace to be able to bring the debris and to stack it so that it can be brought out. But for the most part, this, with the exception of the winged sumac, it'll be fairly bare. I would say 80 to 90%. This area down here will remain, I would say, 80 to 90% vegetated, just with the species composition.
It's a good buffer.
Yes,
We done? I was gonna make a motion. Make a motion to close the hearing and take it under advisement.
Second.
Thank you very much.
Any comments from the public? We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Unanimous.
Thank you, John.
Did you have cards for that one? No.
For the record, my name is Tom Bunker, and I neglected to bring the cards for that one. We can get them to your office tomorrow.
I'm sure you will.
Please do, Tom. I forgot all the more questions.
Next up, Joseph Mazzone, 392 Quaker Road, North Falmouth, Mass. For permission to construct a single-family, 5-bedroom house with a porch, deck, front entryway, install a walkway, Title V sewage disposal system, utilities, dry wells, driveway, retaining wall with steps, and the associated clearing, excavating, grading, and landscaping.
Thank you.
Thank you. Again, for the record, my name is Tom Bunker with BSS Design. We prepared this plan for Joe Mazzone for a new house on this Lot A on Quaker Road. For a fairly big lot, there's actually not a lot of developable land that we can put a house on here. Quaker Road, you know, is lined with houses up on this side. There's a house on both sides of it, and houses across the road from this site. You get down to Nauset Ave, which is a one-way going north. On the west side of Nauset Ave, we have this salt marsh that's around what's called Potter's Hole, across from the Seacrest Resort, further west. This property along Nauset Ave, and then up we have flood zone elevation 15 that runs up into this location here. The 100-foot A zone from this marsh runs across onto the lot this much right through here. This area right here is sort of naturally vegetated through this area, mainly pines and oak trees and shrubs and some bittersweet. There's a lawn area that goes in here past the shed, a wide lawn area across a level area right through here. Above the flood zone again runs through here. This slope here in the flood zone is steep enough to be considered a coastal bank, and because we have this A zone 100 feet from this wetland resource area coming through here, this coastal bank through here has a 25-foot A zone, and then beyond that bank, the remaining 100 feet cuts across the lot through here almost. Well, at some point it does come up to Quaker Road. So the entire lot is, almost the entire lot is within at least a resource area, being the flood zone coastal bank, or within the 100 feet of one of the resource areas, all except for up here. Not enough room down on this level area to put a house, and of course you have the coastal bank A zone, so the only location is uphill, staying out of the flood zone up here. You've seen the site. Obviously it grades, slopes down steeply from Quaker Road down to here. From 18 to slopes down 13 or 14 feet down from Quaker Road. So we sited the house up here. Septic system has to go up as far from the coastal bank and other resources as possible. So the septic system is up by the road, and this front yard of the house will be more or less flat, be lower than the front yard of this house, but higher than the front yard of this house because of the way Quaker Road slopes. It'll be coming in more or less at the elevation of Quaker Road, with the house in this location and a walkout lower level of the house down here. Because the septic system is in the front, we have all the roof runoff. On the earlier plan, we had some dry wells up here, but then we realized that it didn't maintain the 25 feet from the septic system, so all the dry wells are down in this location below the walkout level of the house, and that will have to be piped down from the downspouts down to there. And then to maintain this, a little bit of a backyard at the walkout level, so we have a retaining wall that will more or less match the wall on the house lot to the north, be maybe a foot lower than the wall on the house to the north, and then wrap around this side. So it's roughly across the back, it's about 4 feet high along this one side, because the land will be sloping up from the backyard up to the front. This wall here gets up to 5.5 feet tall in a couple of spots right here. The calculations for impervious surface in a zone B, house in the driveway is 2,897 square feet here, counting the paved driveway. Double that is 5,700 square feet, but the area, the unvegetated area of the A zone of this salt marsh being right in this location, and the A zone of this coastal bank adds up to 3,591 square feet. And so, and I put in the area, it doesn't say it in the regulation, put in the area of the coastal bank itself, that's non-vegetated right here, it's 3,591 square feet. And so that is the amount of mitigation planting we have put in here in this location. And that's the project. We'll take questions from you.
Jen?
Tom, I was out there last week when your guys were just starting to stake it. Refresh my memory, where you have 4-foot high retaining wall, the words 4-foot high retaining wall on your plan, is that
Yes.
all vegetated? Go up, there you go. Yes, in that area.
This is not vegetated here. It's lawn. See this fuzzy line right through here? This is all lawn coming, this is lawn that goes up sort of toward this house. So this is not vegetated here.
No, I'm talking about where it says 4-foot high retaining wall, that area.
Right, that's
where
not.
That's lawn?
Yes. It's lawn down to,
That's what I thought. Okay, so my question is, if that's in the Zone A to a coastal bank, the top of the coastal bank, why are you saying that doesn't need to be vegetated?
let's say we're using some, I hope license, we have the area of the required vegetation. Really, I mean, you get this area up here, and just so that when you come down, there's some continuity of the lawn area, top to bottom through here, without all of this being planted with the shrubs.
Not following you. You're saying that the maximum required, are you following him?
No, not at all.
Yeah, see,
I've calculated the area, but I've put the shrubs, some of the shrubs in different locations. The area
Where?
here, this area is not in the A zone of the coastal bank,
which area?
what I'm pointing at.
How is it not in the A zone to the coastal bank?
Well,
You have a coastal bank delineated on your plan,
Right, but.
and then you
well,
have an A zone delineated on your plan. And that whole area looks blank in there.
Some of it is anyway.
Right, to here, yes.
Yeah. Oh, I don't care about the
Absolutely.
the other property.
No, I know, I calculated the area within the A zone,
Mm-hmm.
and I did not put all of the plants in the A zone. I moved some around so that we could keep some lawn area here going down. So some areas, like right here, are not are beyond the A zone, but it's mitigated. And some areas up here are not in the A zone, but it's mitigated, so the area of planting is here. It's just not all planted in the A zone.
Okay, so let me follow on your line of thinking here. Because we have the A zone to the salt marsh. When were those areas cleared?
They've,
Because the regulations say they have to be cleared, legally with a permit.
well, it's been like that for a long time. I mean, you can, I don't know how long. There's a Joe Mazzone here, the owner.
Okay.
Yes.
Hi, Joe Mazzone, the owner of the property. That area has been cleared since at least 1960s, early 60s.
And the shed?
The shed is 1970s.
Okay.
Yeah. Right around there.
I don't know, Tom, I'm gonna have to leave up to the board. The regulations say you need to completely vegetate the A zone.
Well, it's actually not what it says. It says you have to do as much, it does say that the A-zone is the first place you should put the mitigation.
Yes, and you need to restore mitigation until the A-zone is completely
It
vegetated.
says you're not required to put in more vegetation than what it would take to vegetate the A-zone. So I have put in that much, but it is moved to,
So you're basically
different
saying the
locations.
area that you have closest to Nauset Road in the A-zone to the salt marsh, and then the other little area you have within the coastal bank itself. If you took those and put them up in in the lawn area, that would be,
if this area here was, if this planting was put over here,
yeah, if you moved your two little planting areas that are basically south of the top of the coastal bank, and you put them landward of the top of the coastal bank, that would all be vegetated, is what you're telling me. You're making this way too confusing, Tom.
the area of
That,
this
yep.
A-zone,
And that
including down to here. So this part of the A-zone, we didn't vegetate, and that's in the narrative, just because it's, and the path.
Yeah, no, the path's not worrying me too much.
And this is not an A-zone here, so I didn't count it, but the area of the A-zone here.
Yeah.
And this area of the A-zone through here, and this coastal bank itself, the areas are 3,591 square feet. So that's how much mitigation planting, but they're just in different locations. So if I took this mitigation planting and squished it back over here and down here, it would
Okay.
fill up the A-zones. It's just that they're in slightly different locations. I mean, it's just moved off to the side a little bit.
Right, I follow them though.
Okay, no, I get it, I'm just, okay. Never seen it done like that. Okay, Tom. I'm done grilling you now, thank you.
You good?
I'm fine.
Mark?
I guess from my point of view, there's a lot of grass out there right now, and you're filling a lot in with mitigation planting. I think that's great. That's all.
Could you go over the numbers one more time? It says on the print, mitigation required by calculation,
Yeah.
5794, maximum required mitigation, 3595.
Right. That's by the size of the house and the or driveway in a B zone, doubled would be 5,749 square feet. But one of the sub-paragraphs of the
You want me to read
whichever
which subject
Yeah, I can-
paragraph it is?
I can explain it. So Peter, what Tom is saying is, basically, they calculate the 2-to-1 mitigation required in the B zone. There is a section in the regulations, and Betsy's pointing it out right now. I
You want me to
can
read
pick
it?
it out real quick. Says that if you install or vegetate the area equivalent to the A zone, that it would take to fill the entire A zone up, then you don't, that's all you have to do. So if you're required to put in 6,000 square feet of mitigation, and to fill the A zone up, it's 3,000 square feet of mitigation. 3,000 is what is required, and the board will, dismiss the rest.
Okay.
And so what Tom is saying is he calculated the area within the A zone on the lot to fill the A zone at the top of the coastal bank, right? And Salt Marsh? Or
Yes.
just the top of the
Both
coastal bank?
here and the
Yeah,
coastal.
and there, and then added the mitigation planting in.
So almost the entire A zone of the marsh is vegetated, the coastal bank itself is vegetated here, and then this part of the A zone from the coastal bank is vegetated, so this area here that I'm not showing vegetated, this got moved over out of the way, so they have just.
Visually, it's just not working for me, Tom, but if your numbers are correct, your numbers are correct. But I think that's where I'm getting confused, is I'm just looking at it from spatially, and if I take all your little boxes and I try to fit them up in here, It just doesn't look, that's all.
Shall I send you a CAD file and you can?
Trust you.
Okay.
Yes, I would agree with Mark's comment that the improvement to the existing vegetated area would be substantial. It appears that the shed and the area adjoining the shed, when you just look at it, look like they belong to the existing house, lot 70. And and how this lot got divided over time.
This actually was 4 lots.
Oh,
One,
I see. So
two,
you got 3 of
well,
them.
this was 3, and then this house was 4. There were 4 of the old lots in there, but because of zoning, if you have 2 or 3 lots that are not built on, they're not grandfathered individually, and they had to be combined. So this actually, back in the day, this was actually 3 lots, but they
Wow.
were combined into one to be just 1 lot.
All right, I'm just.
So, it does look like it
Visually
belongs, it's
appears that,
downhill
yeah.
from that other one.
The lawn and everything seems to come off of the abutting home.
Yeah.
And there's no vegetation of significance being removed in the construction of the home?
There are.
Usually I get little X's and things where,
Yeah, and actually I do have, as I wasn't on here, I have some copies of a plan with the trees located. I don't have the X's on them. I will send a plan in with those trees and with the X's on them,
nothing
for
more.
the record.
Do you know how many trees you're taking out, Tom, off the top of your head? Since Steve wants to see his X's.
Take that as a no.
No, we have a missing board member that I thought would want to.
Absolutely.
Slack eye.
Absolutely. You're channeling your inner Maury. I like that.
Diameter.
I thought I was gonna be off the hook on that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you are
Her
much
spirit
easier.
lives.
But I was just curious, it's an interesting lot to look at, and I had a hard time,
There are.
because they're so squeezed together, and such a fine area.
Thanks, Tom.
Just need one for the
I
back.
didn't count the trees over
Share
there.
those.
Oh, I got him, yep.
Oh! I have more than one? I guess I ought to give them this way.
I don't know, there's
Sorry, Mr.
probably
Chairman.
more than a dozen significant trees.
And how many,
Insignificant?
no, how many inches? How much are, how are you compensating for those?
They're all in the B zone? No, they're
Well,
in the A zone.
in anticipation of Maury being here, I added
Well, you
them
hadn't
up.
gotten to me yet for questions either.
Yeah, well, I have 168 inches.
And 12 trees?
Well, you can count them, I don't know if there are 12, but there are some, there's a 16-inch oaks, a 14-inch oaks, I mean, that's it's a little treed area up there.
Counting the double leadered ones, there's 11.
And how many, and what's your compensation?
I have 3
Were you done?
trees.
I guess I'm done, Mr. Chairman.
I'm sorry, Steve.
Please move on. Okay. Glad.
I'm showing 3 trees to be planted.
For 3,000 square feet of mitigation?
Yes.
So that's for the 3,000 square feet of mitigation. What about for the 116 inches?
Well, I didn't show any for that on this version of the plan.
Would you like to offer them?
We would do what...
Why don't you discuss that?
We would do what the...
Order of conditions.
All right, then we'll put it in the conditions, okay, Jen? Jen?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Got it, Beth.
Can I ask one question? There's actually grape, a lot of grapevines growing off back here. Would those be able to be removed and could I do the plantings back in here? Would that be something that would be acceptable?
You can remove the invasive grape, but I don't think the board would allow it to be then that area used for mitigation plantings. So generally the board, and they can
I think
change
we
their
could-
mind if they'd like, does not usually allow the removal of invasives, just so the native mitigation required for the project can go in. See what I'm saying?
But I think he's asking
think-
if some of these trees could go
Yeah.
there.
Some of the trees to go there because
It's up to you guys.
And we can discuss
I
that.
think the trees could go there, because, you know, there's no trees there.
Because it is, yeah,
Well, it's part of the mitigation, I mean,
Right.
so
well, yeah.
be careful with that one.
Well, that's one lot.
33.
I thought, yeah, I thought Tom was very clever with his,
24.
with his placement of mitigation. And while I agree with the gentleman to my right, that this will be an improvement, it's also an improvement that meets the regulations.
Mhm.
So,
Well, that's the only kind we like.
that's the kind we like best.
What she's saying is not
Anyway,
giving
it's a
them
nice,
points.
it's a nice project.
I know.
We'll work on the trees. I think there's always a question of how closely or how spread apart should trees be. And obviously, you can't fit in, or it would be too close to fit in, probably, you know, enough to make up that number of inches.
Oh, not with a 2-inch, 3-inch caliber trees, you
No.
couldn't do it.
Right.
No.
No, absolutely not.
But
No, you
we
wouldn't.
can work to get, or whatever you
Oh,
condition.
no, they'll condition it. They'll let you know exactly how many trees they're gonna wanna see placed.
Yeah.
We'll be reasonable.
And they won't fit in the front.
No.
No, Tom, we would never have you
Kevin?
replace 130
Awesome.
inches of
Thank you.
2-inch trees. That's
Bird?
ridiculous.
Tom, I'm impressed with your
Yeah,
creative approach to mitigation.
really.
I can color in, I was gonna say, I can color in the old topographic map that shows the clearing.
Do I get
From
another frame with
1975.
another bow on it? Another numbered version?
There we go. Take up
I
landscape.
still have it.
I have
Anything else
one
from
that
the
you guys
board?
gave to me.
No, thank you.
You know, I have this label.
Sorry?
You know how I have this label, what Tom gave us? I have to
Oh, did
label
I
it
take-
for the file. I'm gonna label it plan with trees.
Yeah, right.
So creative.
It's Tom, you know, it's the creative spirit is.
That's what he called it, trees added.
We're good.
They can't even touch it. Yes,
Are
ma'am.
we ready for a motion?
We are.
I'd like to make a motion, close the hearing, take it under advisement.
Second.
Any comments from the public?
Oh, who seconded that?
I did.
Courtney?
Courtney only had that.
My name is Charlie Foley. I live across the street at 395 Quaker Road. And regarding the trees, I'd like to have the house be considered a tree. I mean, because I have a view across. I mean, that's my own personal opinion. Again, this is the conservation. They've owned the land for a long time, so they have the right, as far as I'm concerned, to do this. They've maintained the property over there beautifully. I have no problem with this. I would like to know the height, but that's not in this conservation committee of the building itself type of thing. Thank you.
Maybe they'll tell us though, because I'm
Pardon me?
curious. Maybe they'll tell us.
Well, the
Well,
question.
zoning
I have-
requirements, they can't go any higher than 35 feet.
Yeah, but the
so-
question is, the land has to be a median, right? It's a sloping land, so you have to take the height
Yes.
from the two. And
Average mean grade, mean average grade.
so I'm assuming it won't be higher than their own houses.
No.
That's it. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Unanimous, so moved.
Thank you, Tom.
Thank you, Tom. Oh, that's your comment.
It's okay. The J. Razzle. Courtney's really good. She gives me these green notebooks to have.
Next up,
papers in.
continued, yes, continued request for a hearing under notice of intent. Amy Weinstein, Lot 8, J Road. I believe this has been read in. Do we have a quorum?
Mark, Peter, Steve, Jamie, Betsy, Courtney, Kevin. Yeah, all the.
you for the record, Tom Bunker, ESS Design. 3 weeks ago, we were here and there was a number of changes you wanted to see on this plan, and primarily I had a house that was less than 10 feet to the A zone of the vernal pool, the limit of work back here. So this plan one thing, you have architectural plans, which was requested. I don't think we brought in the foundation plan. I have that here. Probably didn't bring it.
No, I think we have.
We
Do you have
share.
this foundation plan?
I have this.
I'll take
That's
this.
what-
We have it.
Because I figured Courtney would ask.
No, I was talking about this house drawing we had.
I think it was Courtney that brought up, wanted to see the plans. He was concerned with our note that we said the house would either be in crawl space or piers. And there's this plan will answer that. And there's some contractors have been using, it's kind of a hybrid, what they're calling a segmental foundation. It's, or segmented foundation. You can see on the plan there's a length of foundation and then an opening in the foundation and then more. And this is Dave Kerrigan, the health agent, has this would suffice to have a reduced setback to a septic system to have this type of foundation, since it's not infilled, would be the sort of the same. So on the plan we have this part of the house right here that's close to the road, close to the septic system, is on this segmented foundation. In the back of the house right here, a full foundation wall. The two corners have been chamfered. Right here and here, the corners have been cut off. And the house moved and rotated a little bit, so we have 10 to 11 feet along the back of the house. And in a couple other ways, they're made a little bit smaller. It's like 28 square feet smaller or something like that. So we have the 10 feet clear all around for the limit of work. Maury was correct in saying it'd be very difficult to put the drainage down in this area behind the house, so I have moved it all off to one side. I have a detail of it here. We're digging down deep enough to get to the coarse sand layer below, and then the stormwater runoff will be piped from the front and the back to go into these chambers here and then infiltrate down into the sand layer. Moved the driveway over. There was some sassafras and some other trees near the property line in here, so we moved it over a little bit more into the area above the septic tank, with areas that would already be disturbed from some of that construction, so that some of these trees in that area could be retained. And provided those plans to you. And the limit of work here was extended up the property line to keep the people from going on to this other lot. Those are the changes that I've noted. I think that was everything that we had discussed when here last. I'll take any questions.
Jen?
Thank you for moving that infiltration system, Tom. I I just think it's a lot of house for that little area, but they can make the numbers work. I mean, my major concern would be that size of a house. And I know you listen to my 10-foot limited work, Tom, and I appreciate that, I really do. But I just get concerned, not from an engineering standpoint, but just from a reality standpoint, that there's gonna be encroachment onto that 100-foot buffer to that vernal pool. You know, just, 10 feet for that size structure, 10 feet is gonna be shadowed, so, that would be the staff's only concern. It's just, it's a lot of house for a little kind of corner of that lot. That's it.
Betsy?
Thanks for addressing all the changes. My comment to that is to condition it, that there needs to be some kind of a fence along that 100-foot
Oh, and
buffer.
definitely.
As much as you need to feel
Just
comfortable.
to delineate. Yeah, and I know you're gonna hate to hear this, but is there anywhere you can put some trees back?
No.
I mean, on the property lines either side?
I mean, they could, depending how it comes out on the left-hand side, limit of work, or even, even right along the rear limit of work, depending if, where the existing, I mean, we don't show an existing tree, right, where it says naturally vegetated, so if there's no trees right there, we could put tree along that, limit of work, 11 or 12 feet from the house, right along that A zone, and as it's, unless we missed one, which is certainly possible, there's no tree right there right now, and so there, we could put some along, right along the edge of where it's cleared.
Well, I guess that's something we could discuss in the condition.
Yeah.
That's all. Thanks.
Pull the straw bales out and put a tree or two along there. If it seems like it would fit and not be under the crown. I mean, these are all,
I don't think it's gonna fit.
kind of tight. It's probably not big spreading crowns there because they're all tight.
There's leaching, those double leaching things. Wouldn't you get a lot more leaching, effective leaching and longer life if you used the honeycomb type of structure and put like 4 feet of stone around, much like an old Title V leach pit?
Well, I thought about that, but because all the way down is, that could add some storage volume. When you put stone around it, you calculate 40% of that stone area is actually voids where the water can go into. I did calculate the entire rectangle of the stone beneath it because the water will go down. Actually, I felt that if you have a pit with holes in it, unless you put a lot of filter cloth along there, that'd actually be more prone to silt, coming in the sides. Again, putting stone around it will not increase the leaching to the sides because that's the silt that would, won't leach into the silt well. It'll only go down anyway. And so I already have the entire bottom area calculated for leaching going down. But putting that in could, like I said, increase the storage volume by some amount. Frankly, I thought that doing this, and then I do have on that is the filter cloth on top of that layer of stone, so that silt won't run into it. And I thought, frankly, the material that's dug out of the hole could just be put back. Some of that material could just be put back into it, but this is big enough to. What I have here is big enough for the, 25-year storm or off of that roof area. But it could be made slightly bigger by putting in stone alongside, but like I said, I think that would actually make it perhaps more prone to getting silt going into it.
I mean, sadly, any drywall system's got a limited shelf life anyway, because the stuff that comes off the gutters and gets into there, it clogs it up a lot quicker than you would get with a normal septic system in a gray wall.
Yeah, it does.
Do you have any provision to maintain those, or just when they explode, then you just?
I don't have any particular provisions in there. It's going to be, say, to bring risers up within 12 inches of grade, so I mean, if, they could open it up and.
Yeah, I mean, you're meeting the requirements, I'm just,
I mean, if they
that's just a
put
practical concern.
gutter guards on to not let all the pine needles and there's probably not maple trees there, those nasty seed things. But, if you keep
Maybe
the
that's what
vegetation out of the.
Maybe we'll condition that.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Steve?
No further questions.
Peter?
No further?
Mark?
No questions.
All right. Entertain a motion.
I have one more concern,
Oh, I'm
Mr.
sorry.
Chairman.
Jim?
There's no deck, no patio, no outdoor living space on this house.
A little bit of drought-tolerant grass to stand on. There isn't, no. There's a little stoop in the back. You can sit there and listen to the birds. But no, he has no deck on there.
I'm not going to see a deck in the future, am I?
Not that I know of. He knows, he could be watching right now, but certainly knows that, what we're going through, to get this far.
It just seems odd to me, this area, North Falmouth, you would think that somebody would want like a deck and a grill and some patio furniture or a deck furniture, and it's just odd to me that there's no deck, so I'm concerned that I'm going to see an amendment or a deck in the future, and, the staff would still require that 10-foot limit of work, and so, okay, just as long as your client has thought this through. Okay.
But on that same line, generator, AC, rent station, nothing?
Yeah.
He did mention today in the email, AC.
Station.
Not a rinse station, he just mentioned 2 condensers, air conditioning
Where would they go to?
condensers. Ideally located on the right side, next to where it's a full basement.
Okay.
Over here.
Yep. Okay.
Okay.
One more question. The segmented part of the foundation, is there any plan to screen that in any form?
I haven't been told of any plans to screen that. I mean, could very well put lattice work or something up there, I suppose.
Oh, I have.
Okay, make a motion to close the hearing and take it under advisement.
Second.
Any,
That was you?
Nope.
I'm
Yep.
sorry.
any comments from the audience?
Okay, comments from the public? Please go up to the podium. State your name for the record. Thank you.
Make a motion to close the meeting, is that what you said? Does that mean he gets the right away to go ahead and build the house? Or is
Sorry?
that still in limbo?
Now's the
Sir, what
time.
the
Building the
board
house on
will
the
do.
lot?
Okay, first, sir, we need your name for the record.
John Bizio, I'm in the abutter.
Yep, Mr. Bizio. Okay, Mr. Bizio, what that means is the board's going to take any public comment at this point. Once public comment is done, this means the hearing is closed. So no more additional public comment, correspondence, or anything like that can be taken. And on the 21st, the board will discuss the project and determine whether or not they would like to permit it, if they're going to permit it with conditions, or, you know, I mean, at this point, it looks like the building meets all the setbacks. But that said, it's going to be a determination of the board to grant the permit or not. So once tonight is done, there'll be no more public comment, but the decision has not been made tonight. The decision will be made on the 21st. Okay?
Thank you. Just
No
like,
problem.
I think we have, once again, we're trying to fit, we've got a 13-inch foot, and we're trying to stick it into a 9.5-inch shoe. You know, we can cut off the toes, cut off the heel, and eventually, we're gonna make it fit. But we're gonna walk around with a lot of blisters. Excuse me. It's just not there. It's just not room for this house. And that's all I can say. Thank you.
Any more comments? We have a motion and a second. All those in favor to close the hearing and take it under advisement?
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous, so moved. Thank you, Tom. Request to amend the existing order of conditions. Sharon and Alan Silverman, Lot 126, Bay Shore Drive, North Falmouth. Request to amend the existing order of conditions, which is number DEP 25-4225, to make alterations to the footprint of the approved house construction by rotating the dwelling 45 degrees and make alterations to the limit of work and septic system. Good evening.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For the record, David Martin here on behalf of the property owner. As you read in the introduction, we're here tonight to make some changes to the house. In October of 2016, the commission approved construction of a single-family home on this lot. What we'd like to do is make some changes to that footprint and rotate the house about 45 degrees. In doing so, there's some changes that would take place to the limit of work. I've highlighted those on the site plan. Some of the changes extend the limit of the work, some of the changes bring the limit of work closer to the home. The net result is there's a reduction in the extent of the limit of work within the riverfront zone. The other small improvement that we're proposing to the southwest of the house, there was a previous area to be disturbed within the limit of work in the outer zone B to BBW. That's unnecessary, so I moved that around in front of the garage where that is entirely out of all buffer zones. Other than that, the project remains essentially the same.
Ken?
So Dave, you have no additional clearing beyond that, was it 6,000 square feet in that riverfront zone?
A reduction, actually. It was 4,990. We reduced it by 9.
5,000, yeah, okay.
In the right direction. It's de minimis, but. And then a reduction in the area within the outer BBW of 180 square feet.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, I don't have any questions. I mean, I've reviewed this site and these plans more times than I can remember with the previous design, and, you know, this is just kind of a reconfiguration of that, and if it fits in that limit of work, it fits in that limit of work. But that limit of work was very carefully done with the prior applicant myself and Mark, so. I don't have any additional questions.
Is it relevant who was on the original quorum?
No, no, because it's a new hearing. No.
Steve?
No, as Jen said, I think it's just turning the building 45 degrees.
Peter?
No questions?
Mark?
No comments.
That's it.
David, what's the date for the OOC? How long is it still open?
The cover letter was October of 2016.
So 10/19. The cover letter was
10/19,
dated
okay.
October 2016. The permit is good until October of 2019.
Okay.
So you're
this is
looking
a-
at almost 2 years?
Yeah, so, yeah, I mean, this is just a minor, this is a minor
Reconfiguration.
reconfiguration within virtually the same,
Same location. We've shown the previously approved house and this house
Right.
superimposed, so you can see the relationship of the
Right.
two to each other.
so I know.
Kevin?
No question.
Courtney?
No question.
Do you plan to start anytime soon?
Oh, we'd like to with your approval. Yes, as soon as possible.
Only way you can look at this
Public?
Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to make a motion to close the hearing and take it under advisement. He'll ask.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any comments from the public?
Right here.
Peter
No, right there.
Okay.
Please.
My name is Gerald Libafab. I live at 43 Santuit Road. I'm an abutter to this lot 126 that I found out about it, a set of circumstances right from a neighbor. I came here, I was late for this closing that people do on a particular property. And now I get a letter again saying they want to turn this house at an angle of 45 degrees, and they also want to alter the footprint. And I'm objecting to the building of this house because it's located in a delicate wetland area. It's got a flood zone, an ocean inlet. There's no house from my bridge all the way to the beach where no one's attempted to build a house previously. Someone built a house before the bridge back in 1977 when there wasn't any wetland regulations. That house never really should have been built, but it was built. You people approved this thing back in, this permit for the Fords back in, I think, September of 2016. And I was there at that meeting, and I objected to it, and I didn't understand this process of you closing the hearing. My letter was submitted as an attachment to this permit process. I'm still against building a house there, and there's really a lot of problems in that area. They want to put a big house in. I saw that they did they changed some markers in the back of behind my house in that lot, and it actually is closer to my lot. I just don't understand this process of you approving this plan right away. Claim that there's a 3-year process on once you issue a permit. But this guy wants to alter the footprint. And he wants to turn this house at a completely different angle. What's it going to do to the water table? What's it going to do to the winds around there that are going to influence the wetlands? I don't know what else to do about it. I'm just objecting to the fact that this house is gonna be built. And I don't know who this new couple is. The Fords got the permit from you people, and they went around for a couple of years that I didn't even know anything about. And gave it to them in 2016. Now this other couple, who I don't even know, this Sharon and Alan Silverman or something, they bought the house about probably in the last 6 months. I'm sure they paid a lot of money for that land, but they're changing the house. And you say, well, go ahead and do it. You know, we issued a permit on this back in 2016. I tried to give an objection to it in 2016, and I got nowhere with it, other than my letter being posted, attached to the permit. I'm just wondering if there's anything I can do to stop this process. And I'd like to leave it like that.
Sir?
Yes.
We recognize that this is a complex wetland area here.
Yes.
But we have to operate under the same set of regulations that the people who apply.
I understand that.
And so, well, two things I want to point out. One is all the resource areas and their buffers are delineated here. And what happens when the engineers work with somebody to start with, they do that and they say, okay, well, here's the area that's outside the areas where you can't build. Here's your building envelope.
Okay.
And that was done 3 years ago.
Yes.
And this order was issued.
Okay.
So now if
is it new order?
Mr. Martin, no, it's not a new order. Mr.
It goes
Martin,
by the property.
if Mr. Martin hadn't come in,
Yep.
we have this order that was issued, people could have built the original plan.
Yeah, but they never did.
Well, they never did, but the change to the order is still within that building envelope.
Okay.
It's where,
So that's what they're using for it.
right.
Correct.
Okay, I
It's
understand
where,
that.
so they're not going outside where they've already established that it's, meets our regulations to build.
Okay.
And so, we understand your concern. I mean, a lot of people are concerned about houses here or there, or like the previous person said, this house shouldn't be in this area.
Yeah.
Well, it meets the regulations, and
Okay.
he's concerned that there's pollution in areas around.
Sure.
But there've been other houses that have been there for 40 years.
course.
This new house hasn't contributed to that pollution.
It will.
Well, yeah, right, well,
Okay. I understand what you're telling me. And this letter tells me that they want to alter the footprint. You gave a permit on that initial footprint in 2016. Now they want to change it a little bit based on that footprint. But
Right.
they're still changing the footprint.
but it's within that envelope where they're allowed to build.
Okay. Okay.
So they could have, or whoever put it in a year and a half ago,
Yep.
could have come in with what we have in front of us,
And it still would have
and
met
it still
regulations.
would have been approved.
Okay. Well, that's where I'll leave
I
it.
mean, it doesn't, I recognize that you don't want a house there.
Exactly.
We recognize that, but we can't just say to somebody, we don't like this house here.
Well, no.
We have
no,
to say,
you issued the
this is
permit.
what
I
our
underst-
regulations
I
are.
understand that. Is there any way to drag the process further? Stall it for another year?
Make them an offer on the property.
I was gonna offer the Fords $1 for the land, not to be built on. That's all it's really worth. This couple probably paid about 650 grand for it, and maybe even more. And I just can't see a house there, that's all. Even though I've been living there for in excess of 40 years. And it's not a location where it should be built on. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Yep.
Not yet. Anyone else? Not yet.
So my other comment just has to do with us finding places. So when I'm particularly tired and I know it's gonna rain later in the afternoon and I'm looking for a place, I plug it into my GPS. And I plugged in 126 Bay Shore Drive.
I believe that's a lot number.
Well, it is, but I'm just wondering how we can get the information to us. I said,
No,
I wonder
I
if
follow
that's it, where those flags are.
The flag that was 6 inches off the asphalt?
Yeah, but I just kind of kept on going, and I got to 130, and I said, well, this is 130, this must be it. And then I looked at this, then I pulled this out again, and I went, oh, no, I bet that's where the bridge was. That's where those flags were. So this has nothing,
I follow, and I apologize if it was difficult to find. The Tuesday or Wednesday before, the day before the field crew went out, I went out and put significant flagging at the street side.
Yeah, I saw the
Quite
flagging.
colorful, so hoping you would find it. But we don't get issued a house number until you get involved with the permit process, so it does make the GPS part difficult to accomplish.
Right, no, I'm
There's a
just
lot
wondering,
of-
I'm just thinking in the future, because
I
I know
already
the
have an
engineers don't like us to be cranky because we couldn't find the house.
No, we want you to find the property. We spent the better part of a day with two guys staking it out so you could view it, so we certainly want you to see that.
So I'm just, I'll
I
think
have an
about-
idea.
Duly
Yeah, we'll
noted.
think of some ideas.
I have an idea.
Neon sign, orange flag. Any other comments from the board? Any other comments from the public? We have a motion and a second. All, to close the hearing, take it under advisement. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Unanimous, so moved.
Thank you.
Thank you, David.
Thank you, David.
Next up, sorry if I slashed this, Taylor Hale, 89 Walker Street, Falmouth, Mass. Request to amend the existing order of conditions, DEP number 25-4281, to change the house, move the house away from the street, and retain the existing septic system.
Thank you.
Tom, what's this handout?
This is an exhibit, nothing's changed. Actually, this is the approved plan, and this is showing the differences. In case they don't have a copy of the approved plan with them.
Mr. Chairman, can I ask a question before Tom starts?
Absolutely.
Tom, was this ever recorded? So it's still, the original one's still not recorded?
Correct. Yeah, my name is Tom Bunker, and the original, I think I have in the folder here, because of indecisiveness and whatever else. The original order condition has not been recorded. It will be recorded, certainly before this hopefully gets, before an amended order gets issued, we hope. What I passed out, I have highlighted, and I wrote down in the bottom right corner, is 2018 and 2017. This is an order was issued, and as noted, not recorded, issued in June of last year. And the second page is that plan. The top page, it's a reduction of the current plan before you. So what I've highlighted is from the top left on the page under the mitigation calculations. In 2017, there was a 456 square foot increase in Zone B, and in 2018, it's a 413 square foot increase. So it's actually from last year to this year, it's a 43 square foot decrease in coverage in Zone B, and I've also highlighted the various setbacks to the bank and wetland where we're, 1 to 2 feet further from the various wetland resources in the back with the new house rather than the old house. The septic system is remaining as is. It is still a one-bedroom house being proposed. It is larger than the existing house. As noted, it's 413 square feet bigger. It's only 777 square feet, so it's not a very big house. Plus it's a 1,000 square foot, 1,300 square foot structure, including the deck and all. But anyway, it is smaller than what was approved, and it is slightly further from the resource areas than what was approved, just scaled back a little bit. Take any questions you might have.
Jen?
Your mitigation, planting, Tom, installed for 83, you didn't change your mitigation?
Yeah, it did. It had been 912 square feet, now it is 816 square feet. There's 413 square foot increase in Zone B, so it's 826 square feet.
Oh, I see it, I see it, I was following, it just, again, visually, spatially, it looked the same to me. But if you follow along your 60.
It's not much of a reduction.
No, it wasn't, it just, you can tell when you're looking at that 6-foot contour line.
Yeah.
Okay, I have no questions, Mr. Chairman.
Courtney?
No questions.
No question.
No question.
Steve?
No questions.
No questions.
Huh?
No questions.
Wow. I'm not gonna be a spoiler. Yes, ma'am.
May I make a motion to close the hearing and take it under advisement?
Absolutely.
Second?
All those in favor?
Any comments from the public? Any public?
No public,
Public is leaving.
no public.
Trying to escape.
Our only public is leaving.
Public is single, keep it together.
Any more comments from the board?
Whatever
All
reason.
right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Unanimous, so moved.
Thank you, Tom.
Thank you.
All right. Order of conditions.
I think it's everybody too.
Huh? I didn't forget. It's not in that order.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, everybody.
All right. Highgate
Hang on,
Lane.
Mr. Chairman. Okay. Which one are we doing for, oh, no.
Do we have orders and conditions, but we have the minutes in front of us in the hearings? It's so helpful. Because you can look at the minutes. and see what the issues were.
For those that can't remember.
Well, no, otherwise I'd say, what was that about?
Oh, look at all these red notes. All right. What are you thinking, Jen?
1 second, Mr. Chairman, sorry. I'm trying. This is the restoration of the
Oh,
house in North Falmouth. Is this Maria's project?
Yep, to clean up
Yeah.
old orders of conditions.
It's just enhancing the actual buffer that was planted, adding some screening trees along the edge, and modifying the driveway. I didn't have really any notes. or questions on her plan?
We didn't really,
I just have a note about, in that existing area, that any native plants that grow back should be allowed to.
In the existing beach
oh, I
grass
said
area?
that. Yeah, that's right.
In the beach grass area, the dune along
In
the,
the
okay.
dune.
Yeah,
In the
okay,
Because you could see next to it, the dune had been
yeah.
mowed.
Well, it's actually not really a dune, it's just that it's buffered to the coastal bank, that's what it is.
Should we require some form of delineation so it doesn't get mowed?
Do you want to do a single rail fence? Single rail fences, I mean, they're only like this
Yeah.
high.
I think so, because
Yeah.
I mean,
Okay.
that gets mowed down.
To mow it.
Okay. Single rail, you got it.
And if for some reason they don't want it, I mean, you could administratively.
Oh, yeah. I do, but I mean,
Give them double
honestly, putting posts in, they're better off just with a very natural colored single rail fence. They're only like that high off.
Yeah.
It just stops the mower from going. That's all.
Yep.
They just kind of, and if they're placed right, the vegetation just grows in and around it.
Yeah, it
And
looks
it
good.
just,
It looks
it
nice.
just blends right in. Okay.
I make a motion, we accept as discussed.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Unanimous, so moved. 147, and I believe we can do 148 Bay Road as we heard them collectively. This is the new bulkhead.
You want to emphasize that they protect the salt marsh?
Yes. What one was that? That was 147, right?
Yep. Reading this right off Susan's
All
notes.
right. Hang on one second. We're gonna add the DMF conditions. Okay. Conditions. Why do I have stainless steel on here? Oh, Courtney, you wanted to see
Stainless
stainless
steel
steel.
Stainless steel
galvanized.
bolts, nuts, washers,
Hardware, would that work?
hardware.
Okay. Low tide boat ramp work.
Yeah, we had discussed them pouring
Right.
the lower ones and taking them down,
Precast.
precast. The ones for low tide, so that they're not pouring them when the tide comes in.
Wreaks havoc with concrete.
So the concrete's.
I am
no
gonna
good.
add a condition that they obtain their Army Corps permit. There are certain permits that Army Corps requires, and sometimes people don't follow through with that, so I'm just gonna make that a condition. Okay.
So would the Army Corps be for the bulkhead or for the?
Bulkhead and the boat ramp.
And the boat ramp?
Yeah.
Okay.
I believe so. And then hand digging, I want I'm just really concerned with that salt marsh. And really concerned that, not to take anything away from the property owner, but this is going to be done by by the property owner.
So can we condition that, that piece is done on the landward side?
Oh, yeah, it would have to be, but they said that, didn't they say they're coming in by barge? Because I have the reach
They
of the
said they're gonna
barge.
do, yeah, pieces of it by barge, and they,
But
To
other
drive the
places-
sheep piling it.
Right, but other places, they could come
they were saying.
by
that-
land
Yes, yeah.
and.
Most of it was supposed to be done
From the land.
from land.
Yeah.
But there was some area that they said that they would have to use.
Well, they're gonna have to walk in the marsh. I mean, they're gonna put the sheep piling in behind.
Yeah.
And then they're gonna remove the wall.
What's in front?
Okay, so I want them to mat that salt marsh, so when they're working
built
in the
before
salt
and
marsh, you're
after.
gonna have to have guys in that marsh. There's
Yeah.
no way
Right,
around
right,
it,
right.
that they protect the marsh.
If they trash it, they're gonna.
There's no water
destroy it.
depth for the barges, that was the concern. There's only a foot and a half of water.
I know, I mean, and they're saying they can come in, especially where they're gonna do that with, I mean, you got 7 feet past the,
Dock.
hang on, why don't why is there not a scale on here, Tom? Bunker.
It grew in before.
I'm gonna guess that it is 1:20. Hang on 1 second, I just need to confirm this somehow.
We can require restoration, I mean, if they trash it.
Yeah, but-
So we should have before and after pictures. I mean, we should insist that they try to protect, but,
Yeah, it's much better if it's protected.
yeah, and I think that, but there should be that final requirement if they,
Well, it definitely should be before and after.
All right, so 1:20. So between where he has that, I mean, you're talking a 65-foot reach if the barge is from that, no, 6.9, so that's 7 feet. I mean, if you move closer, it gets shallow quick in there.
Right, 65 feet, eh?
What was that? They can't reach that,
No,
can
it's
they? No.
65 feet. No.
So how close are they coming in? Because the salt marsh extends 20 feet off of that marsh. I mean, off of that bulkhead.
You think you should have a condition that the barge can't come any closer than,
If I say any closer than 10 feet to that marsh, you're still looking at a 30-foot reach. Is that doable, Jamie?
That's doable, I would think.
depends on the crane. They got
Well, yeah, but if they know that ahead of time,
It's their crane.
that they have to reach 30 feet.
Yeah.
The one at the end of Rand's Canal reaches 70 feet,
That's a long reach.
but this one is not the same.
No, the bigger the crane, the bigger the draw too, so. What
Oh,
about,
exactly.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
What about, sorry.
I thought in that discussion, I thought it pivoted from the fact that probably not gonna be able to reach that far, to the
Right.
fact that you can come by land to those areas.
Well, that,
Isn't
right.
that how the discussion
Right,
pivoted?
Yes.
And so,
Then it also
you can
has
require that.
trees, right. It's also trees there.
Maybe we need a construction methodology that explains exactly where they're gonna use barge and where they're gonna do it by hand. I mean, but from the land.
Well, I think if you give them the limit of the no closer than 10 feet, and then,
Don't figure that out.
you know, where the crane won't reach, has to be done on the,
Does that still give them enough water?
No.
Gives them about a foot.
Hmm?
Gives them a foot. I don't think they can get the barge in there.
Can't get barge that
I don't
close.
think they can get the barge in there.
I think you should say that it can't be done by barge,
They
that
can
has to
get a
be
barge.
done by
Yeah,
land.
but if they can't get a barge, how can they put it
They're
in?
still gonna have to, because we pivoted that they couldn't use the barge,
By hand.
they'd have to come
They don't
by
have a
land
shore-mounted
there, but they'd still have to
piler,
have people
driver.
in the marsh to collect the old pieces
Mm-hmm.
off. So I think you just make a condition that the area by the marsh has to be done from the upland.
Maybe we gotta make them stake that out too, so they don't have any, sneak in on it with a barge when they're trying to make that last couple feet.
Yeah, from this point to this point has to be
Yeah, I
done
mean,
from the
the
upland.
thing's gonna
Yeah.
round right out.
I was thinking, though, they ought to stake out the marsh itself, so
I think this one shows.
What is it? Do we know what the barge draws? It can't ground, can't let it ground.
Properties.
getting equipment in between those two trees.
Actually, that's not too bad either.
Do you want to allow the use of a barge or not?
They might have to cut.
Well, I was wondering
Not
if
for
they
the salt marsh
came
area.
in from here,
Yeah.
it would also come in from here. I would think just conditioning that, like you said, can't come in closer than 10 feet, and then where the crane won't reach, they have to do it by hand. I mean,
So within 10 feet of the salt marsh, what's the,
That means the barge is 30 feet from that bulkhead.
yeah, but that's the front of the barge, right? Bow, or whatever it's called.
Mm-hmm.
And what's the draft of the barge?
I have no idea, Courtney.
So, you know, I mean, that thing.
That's why I
could-
raised the
That
question.
thing
that it
could
was-
ground out long before it gets 10 feet off that marsh.
They're gonna get it in high tide.
In high water, there's gonna be 4 feet of water
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, in high tide, they'll float the barge in at high tide and then just spud it down.
Right.
That barge is not moving.
No.
There's no, they're just gonna go, and it's just gonna sit there.
Grounded.
Mm-hmm. No, not grounded. They're gonna float it in a high tide,
Till some boat hunks its mooring.
but
And
it's
then
little
it's staying.
feet down.
Yeah, but what's low tide? I mean,
A foot.
A foot.
1 point, so.
So it'll be grounded.
And well,
For a day.
it's not going anywhere, Courtney.
How much of this can you put in,
I
you
mean,
know, how long does it
you
take
know,
to put this
plus-
stuff in?
you put a crane on there.
Well, that was the point I was
you're
gonna make,
have
is
to
I
put
don't, this
counterweight
whole thing is gonna
backside.
take all that
Oh,
long,
yeah.
even though they're doing it themselves.
That's why I
they
wanna
still
know
have
what the draft
rent
is.
barge, or if they own the
I can ask
barge,
them.
if it's tied up here, they're not making money with it, so it's not gonna be like a,
I think
I
we
wouldn't
condition
think
it
it would
that
be
they
a
cannot ground that
non-viable process.
barge
Just,
at low water.
Okay.
the work has to be done, 3 hours before and 3 hours after high tide. You don't like that?
I think I'd stick with, they have to say 10 feet away, whatever
Well,
happens.
plus they have to stay 10 feet away.
Yeah.
No, I agree.
I would rather see the marsh itself staked, so they know they can't, otherwise they're gonna have a tendency to edge up a little bit on it. If that's not,
Well, they should stake it plus 10 feet out from it. They
I
can't,
don't know about the
10
10 feet
feet isn't
myself, but I
much.
certainly wouldn't want the marsh itself encroached at all.
Okay, stake, seaward edge
enforcement.
of marsh.
Yeah.
You know what, I'm just gonna do this, I'm gonna have a pre-construction, so I'll do stake seaward edge of marsh, they're gonna have to notify us on the exact days they're doing work. I'd like the draft of the barge beforehand, they have to stay 10 feet, beyond the seaward edge of the marsh.
That's draft with the crane and counterweights and everything else. Not just empty.
Counterweight. Wait, I hear you, Courtney. I got it. Mat the salt marsh to protect the marsh while working in Army Corps permit, low tide boat ramp, stainless steel hardware, add DMF conditions, and I'm gonna do a pre-construction because I would like.
Yeah, absolutely.
pictures before and after.
Yeah, pictures before and after.
Yeah, that's a given.
So easy to get pictures now.
Huh?
So easy to take pictures.
oh, yeah. Yeah. Everybody carries a camera with them now.
Okay,
I'll
No,
move
that's fine.
to accept as discussed.
Second.
Okay. We have a motion and a second, all in favor say aye.
For both,
Unanimous, so moved.
for both.
For both.
Yes, for both.
Yeah.
It'd still be separate numbers, correct?
still, it's gonna be separate orders.
Yeah.
We're gonna tweak the 147 to add the salt marsh. Well, no, 148 is gonna have a salt marsh condition too. Yeah, but there's gonna be two separate orders, but they're gonna mirror each other more or less. And I'm gonna have a pre-construction meeting. Only
Definitely.
because, I've never had a pre-construction meeting with these particular contractors, so just, Getting my comfort level up, that's all.
Yeah, oh, it's good.
So for the record, we've accepted 147 and 148.
Right.
All right, other business.
What? Of course.
Believe it or not,
How
Betsy
could
has
I-
something
how
to
could I just-
say.
This is exciting. Everybody likes things like this.
Ooh, exciting.
So I was talking to Wendy Bismarck today. She's president of the Coonamessett River Trust. March 22nd, and this will all be, I'll send something to Jen. Wendy will send something to me, I'll send it to Jen, Jen will send to all of you. March 22nd, 7 PM, which is, March 22nd is a Thursday, at the library. Abigail Archer, who works with the Woods Hole Sea Grant and also with Barnstable County, she's gonna give a talk, and the talk is gonna be called, "Wait, wasn't there a dam here? How river restoration helps herring come home." That's all.
Thank you.
I knew you'd like that, Steve.
What day of the week is that?
It's a Thursday.
Oh, okay.
And this Thursday, while I'm on a roll, this Thursday,
That wasn't on the
remember
agenda.
that Steve invited us to the CPC discussion, right, Steve?
7 o'clock tomorrow night at the library.
Be there or be square.
Betsy has a list. Excuse me, Dr. Gatwiler.
Has a list of things that we can all go to in addition to our Wednesday night meeting.
Yes. Or things we could spend money on through the CPC.
Or, I do have those also.
According, speaking
Yes.
of things
Okay.
beyond
Motion
the
to
regular
adjourn.
scheduled
Second.
meeting.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We are adjourned.